Welcome to Uxbridge Beat, the podcast where we feature the who's who of Uxbridge, Ontario. My name is Scott Campsell.
And I am Jennifer Nebu-Campsell, and today we are sharing with you our chat with local singer Leah Daniels.
Leah is a well-known personality in Uxbridge and has made her musical mark on many local and also less local stages.
Leah is a former voice student of mine, and I couldn't be more proud of the musical course she has set for herself. She is proud to have made Uxbridge her home, and having been raised here in a town rich in musical opportunities, it has allowed her to come up through all of the stages of performing, from youth choir to youth theatre. She is a beloved member of our community and a strong ambassador as to what Uxbridge can put forth in talent.
She is 100% music, so let's find out what puts the beat into her musical heart.
Thank you for joining us. We're so glad you're here. Often with these interviews, I sort of start at the beginning and go forward, but I want to go backwards with you. And
okay.
So let's talk about what's happening for you now and what's upcoming and what have you got going on?
Well, I am back doing live shows, which is very exciting after a little pause. I have like my own original music project that I do. So I've got live shows with that, but then I also do a lot of corporate work. So I sing with a band called You Request Live. So it's an all request band. So we've got kiosks that people can go up to, request songs. The band gets them on stage and then we sing the most requested songs. So we do weddings, corporate events. Like I was just in Texas last week doing a show. So we travel all over the world, especially before COVID. We were doing a lot of traveling, but it's picking up again. So I do that. And then I am still teaching 1 day a week in Uxbridge and enjoying the house that we've finally built and we're living in now.
And that's in Manila, right?
Yes, that's in Manila. So it was an old church that Tim and I renovated. So Tim's my husband.
That's a massive amount of work, eh?
It was insane. It was, I had no idea what I was getting into. Tim knew, but I don't think he fully shared like the amount of effort because it was really rough. We basically ended up rebuilding the whole thing just in stages. So we started off with tearing the old siding off, then redoing the siding, redoing the roof, and then we did the inside, totally gutted it, built a basement, dug a basement, I guess, and then built up. So that was like our COVID project.
You bought it thinking, okay, we're gonna destroy this and renovate it,
Yeah. Like we bought it 5 years ago, and of course Tim's like, so we bought it in April, and Tim's like, we'll be in by Christmas. Anyways, so like 4 Christmases go by and we were still not in this house. But we didn't think it would be quite as extensive as it was. Like we knew we were definitely gutting it, but you know, as it is with older houses, and this church was built in 1855, so it was quite old. There's always surprises. So it took us a little bit longer. I remember we had architects come in, they're like, just tear it down. Like, it's not worth it. What are you doing? And Tim was like, but it's the windows, it's the feeling, the vibe. Like if we just tear it down, we're just gonna build a house. It'll just be a normal house. But right now we have something that's kind of special. And I kind of agreed. Like that was the part that sold me on the house, was like, oh, look at the windows we could have. And like, this is cool. And it was kind of a blessing in disguise that COVID did happen because we wouldn't have had the time to do it had COVID not happened. And so the fact that I wasn't working, I was able to dedicate time. And it was reluctantly at first because I was so bitter that I was just working and building this house when I should be doing music, because I was seeing so many other people spending that time to actually like really dedicate on like building their socials and like focusing right on music and other ways that they could build up their career. And I was just stuck building this house. But I knew I had to do it because it was kind of now or never. So that was a bit of like a mind game throughout COVID.
So through the whole thing, you're told that you're, well, what do they call it?
Non-essential.
Non-essential, but that wasn't the big word.
Super spreader. As a singer.
Yeah.
So you hit this now. What are your thoughts when you get told all this about your career now? Are you thinking, oh yeah, well, we'll go through this and I'll come back to where I was before? Or are you worried about your career? What thoughts are going through your mind?
Yeah, well, a lot of thoughts, had a lot of time to think. I remember when it first happened, I was actually with You Request Live and we were performing in Las Vegas for a conference for like the world's best event planners. So like these are the people that put on the world's biggest events, and we were like the top 10 acts in the world performing. And COVID was happening and they were starting to shut things down. So we're in a room where like people are getting notifications on their phone that this is canceled, this event is canceled, so it was just the weirdest feeling. Everybody essentially kind of losing all their work, all these event people, and flying back. And I remember at the time Trump was like, no more flights to Europe, no, like everything was just being canceled, and we kind of got out just before it all shut down. For the next couple months, my shows were canceled, but I was like, oh, we'll be back for the summer, and Tim and I were also planning our wedding for October 2020. So that was also going through my mind too, like trying to do that. But very quickly I realized, okay, this looks like it'll be a bit longer than what we think. And it was really tough. For my whole life, like my identity is like creating music, like being a singer, performing, like that is who I am. So when I couldn't do that anymore, it was like, well, who am I? Am I even worthy? Like what? Like I put
no,
like
now you're a construction worker.
Now I just do construction. I swing a hammer. And
you went from singing to a trade.
I lay concrete. I'm like purging a foundation. Like who am I? It was like really like I entered like a depression, which I've never felt like that before in my life. Like I remember like just being like, just who am I? What am I doing? Like just so sad and not understanding why, and like so many emotions during that period, because like we're planning a wedding, which that is supposed to be very exciting, very fun. And although it's not something that like, I never was that little girl that was like, oh, I have my wedding all planned. Like, I can't wait to get married. I was not that person, but still once it came time, I was pretty excited. I had this idea, I'm going to invite these people, I'm going to do this thing. And then slowly it's like guest list gets chopped, to the point where like, I remember the day before the wedding, it was, there's going to be another announcement. What are they going to say? Are they even going to allow that anymore? And so I was like planning this joyous thing, but then also like feeling completely empty and like worthless, sort of like, it was such a weird time. And poor Tim had to kind of go through all that with me, but we did get through it. But it was an emotional roller coaster for sure.
So what's Tim do?
So Tim is a videographer.
Okay.
So yeah, he does corporate video work, weddings. He does a lot of music videos. So him and I work together, like on my music videos. And but he got his start actually as he was a host on Much Music, a VJ. Okay. Yeah. So he kind of comes from the world of music and hosting, and then shifted to more videography. So we're both kind of in the industry, in the creative industry.
So is he affected by anything pandemic-wise?
Well, because he does video work, video was kind of in demand during the pandemic because people wanted to do video stuff. And so he was okay. He could have taken on more work, but because we were focusing on the house, he just didn't take on too much because we had to dedicate our time to the house. So yeah, that was that.
That's tough. No, we can both identify.
And I know
that.
You can. Yeah. And we've spoke about it too. Like just that feeling of like, feeling like, okay, we're non-essential.
Non-essential, and everything that we thought that God told us to do because this is what is good for us and good for us to bring to our community and to the people around us, that no, and if you do, in fact, you might kill people. So don't do that. Yeah. It was, we can. Yeah.
It was totally tough. And like the other, I don't know, this is a weird thing to bring up, but like the other thing is too, like when we go through crises like that, like the first people people call like, okay, let's organize a fundraiser. Well, it's the musicians that they call. Oh, you want to come sing for this fundraiser? And I'm like, I have been out of work and now you want me to do this for free or whatever. Like, it was just so weird. Like I feel like, not everybody understood what we were going through as musicians, like just like having just the rug torn from underneath us. It was just like, whoa, like still kind of recovering from that. Like myself, even just like, okay, who am I now that I've gone through that? And I've had a lot of time too to reevaluate like what's important and where do I want to spend my time? Because up to the pandemic, I was very much focused on like, all right, releasing music, and I have to record a certain kind of music to get on radio, to please these people, to try and get this deal. Always like the game, like you're playing the game, it's the chase, and always putting this pressure on yourself. Like, I'm not doing enough, I need to do more. And looking back, that was not healthy at all. I wasn't a pleasant person to be around, like, because I was constantly just feeling like I wasn't doing enough. And now I realize that, okay, like, I don't want to be like that. I want to have more balance. I felt like if I wasn't doing music, it was kind of a waste of time. So like my other hobbies and things that I really enjoy, I felt like I shouldn't be doing them as much.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it was this weird thing. And then once everything stopped, I was like, oh, you know, I have time now. I could take that pottery class that I've always wanted to do. But then I couldn't because it was a pandemic. But then I was like, you know what? When things open up, that's what I'm going to prioritize. It's like, I'm going to do those things I always said I wanted to do that I haven't been able to. So I've now taken a pottery class and
Very good.
You know, like, so it's good.
Is there a need for ashtrays anymore though? Like,
I made a mug.
Okay.
I made a mug. Tim's like, I think we have enough bowls now, you know, like your little dip bowls and things. Like, so, you know, I might move on to something else. But yeah, those things are good though. Like, it's good for our, like, as artistic people, I think, to do other things too. Like, we have to have a life beyond just the music. And I don't think I had that for a long time because I was so focused on just the music.
Do you feel like you have fallen back in love with music again, or do you still feel a little bitter?
I'm getting there. Like, yes, I was bitter, but I am falling in love with it again because I've like taken away that pressure. Going back to like why I got into it in the first place, because I love music, because I love creating. Like, why I did it in the first place wasn't for somebody else. It was for me. It was because I wanted to create and I love performing. And so realizing that, like, for me, it never was about like, oh, this specific genre or style of music. Like, I just love all kinds of music and performing all kinds of music. So I think with my original music, sometimes I felt like I had to do this one thing and this one thing only. And now I'm like, you know what, whatever. Like, if I love the song, let's do it. Let's record it. Let's release it. And so that's really refreshing and exciting.
Tell us about your training and start when you were little.
Okay, we're gonna go back?
Yeah, let's go back. Let's go back to when you were little.
Yeah, all right. So I wasn't born in Uxbridge, but I was raised in Uxbridge. I was born in, Scarborough Centennial Hospital.
It's okay, I'm a Scarborough girl too, so we won't hold that against you.
But I've lived in Uxbridge my whole life up until like a year ago. I come from a pretty musical family. Not so much my parents, but my grandparents. My grandpa on my mom's side was very musical. Every family get together, there'd be jams, the guitars were out, harmonicas, fiddles, we'd have folk dances, like, and stuff like that, like just tons of fun. And so I was definitely around music, and they all encouraged me to sing from a young age and play. My Uncle Owen, he was very big into classic rock. And so he was the guy that's like, yeah, let's jam. And he would have the electric guitars and we'd be singing AC/DC and, you know, Led Zeppelin, all that stuff. And so I kind of had this, like, my grandpa was very old country folk Western music. At the time, I remember thinking, oh, his music's like old fashioned, like that. It's like not cool anymore, Grandpa. But, you know, you participate because he's your grandpa. I had a love for music. And then I started joining choirs, like in school, and doing musicals. And then kind of my first outside of school thing was the Uxbridge Youth Choir. Back when Conrad was running it. And it was the very first year that he ran it. My mom got me the audition. And I remember I sang Colors of the Wind and got into this choir. And that was kind of my first introduction to like music and like reading music, because I hadn't started piano lessons at that time. I didn't start piano lessons till I was in grade 4, which I think is kind of maybe a bit later than, I don't know, the average person does. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe not. But I remember I was in grade 4, and then I was on a wait list for voice lessons with Jennifer Wilson. And so it took me a while to get in with her, and then I did. So started taking lessons. But in the meantime, always doing musicals. Like, I really fell in love with doing musicals, and there was so much opportunity in Uxbridge to be a part of that and all different things going on. And then started kind of writing my own songs at a young age too. Like, once I started playing piano, I was like, oh, if I play these 3 notes together, that sounds good. I didn't know what a chord was at the time, but I knew I'd write out C, E, and G sound good. I'd be like, right hand plays those 3 notes. Left hand's gonna play C. And that's how I'd like write out my notation for my songs. And then I'd create lyrics and stuff. And then later on, I realized, oh, I'm playing a chord. That's what that is. That's why that sounds good.
You remember your first song?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's called When I Feel Lost.
Okay.
Like,
go ahead. Sing
okay. It's like, when I feel lost, I don't know what to do. When I feel lost, I just want to say boo-hoo. So, you know.
And that's the key of C?
Yeah, key of C. Yeah. There was actually one earlier than that. It's kind of a funny one. I forgot about this one. So my mom, well, this was when I was young. So after I'd go to the bathroom, I would sing, I'm all done, super in a calibet, I'm all done. And then my mom would know to come get me. I don't know where it came from. But
kids everywhere are now going to be, well, all right, maybe not
all you need
everywhere.
to do. Instead of yelling, Mom, come wipe my bum, you can just say.
Which also rhymes.
So there you go. You're welcome, kids of Uxbridge, parents of Uxbridge. I'm all done.
I think I just found the sign off for this interview.
So then formal training beyond that. What did you do after Jennifer?
Yeah, so Jennifer Wilson, and then Jennifer was like, I think we've gotten to a point where I've taken you as far as you can go. There's this amazing teacher, Jennifer Nevu in Uxbridge. Or I guess, yeah, you were still teaching out of Uxbridge.
I was
yeah,
in Mount Albert.
Right, but I came for an audition at your dad's store in upstairs.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I remember I sang Once Upon a December.
That's right.
And something else. It might have been Journey to the Past. Would I have done 2 songs from? Yeah, maybe I did. Yeah, I think those were the 2. Yeah, so I remember going to this like audition with you, and my mom came, and it was like, I gotta sing these songs by Jennifer now. And like, you had this reputation as like, you still do. Like, I was so nervous, and then.
That's funny because when I met you, I went, never heard of you.
Well, you didn't do much.
She's a big deal.
Because we met through the gym. Actually, when Jennifer told me who she was and that her dad owned the store and everything, I connected more to Jeff, her brother.
Right.
You're Jeff Nevu's
Yeah, you're Jeff Nevu's sister.
That's way more interesting than me. Yes, I'm Jeff's sister. Yeah. So, and then beyond that, so you went to Sheridan.
Yes.
Where did you?
So I went to Sheridan College for musical theater, and I did that for a year because I was so torn between, do I go to school for musical theater or do I go to Humber College for vocal music?
And all that to say, you were an absolute joy to teach, and I loved all the years that you sang with me. So thank you.
Well,
Moving on.
Thank you. Okay.
Did you see what happened though? There was a build up at the beginning. There was, let's get to me.
No,
let's go to me.
not.
Let's talk about your early career. Let's get to me. All right, now we can move on.
That's not it.
It's okay.
It's not it.
No, we had a wonderful time. And then I really got into like classical music and studying that. And I did my grade 9 RCM, and that was a huge part of my life for sure. So coming out of high school, so I decided I'll go to Sheridan, and I loved it. It was actually a great program. Whether you're a singer, performer, it's just amazing all-round program. They are so good there. But I was like, what's Humber like? The whole time I was like, maybe I want to do more songwriting and focus on that. So I was like, you know what? Let's just go to Humber. Just check it out. Why not? So I did the Humber program for a year. What it was great for was meeting other musicians and networking. I felt that it wasn't quite as strong, like as a vocalist coming out of Sheridan and going into Humber. It was just lacking. Because Sheridan, you had classes 9 to 6 every day. Humber, it was like, a class Monday morning and then Tuesday evening. And then you have another, like it was just all these gaps. And I was like, if I was still at Sheridan, I'd be getting dance and I'd be getting acting and all this other stuff too. I think as a musician, at the time, Humber was awesome, but as a vocalist, it just felt like they kind of ignored aspects of being a vocalist, like the performance side of things. They kind of treated you like an instrumentalist, but forgetting that, yes, we have to sing and we're a musician, but we also are performers. We're entertainers. Like we are the front men. So what comes with that as well? And that's where I felt was kind of lacking after coming out of such a performance-based program. But while I was there was like an audition board. And so I'd always like audition for different things. And I remember there was an audition for this band, God Made Me Funky. And so at the time they were kind of like on the rise, like in the Canadian indie scene. They were like a Black Eyed Peas. So this was the time like Black Eyed Peas was really big with like, I got a feeling, all that stuff. And so this band, they kind of were like that. So they had like the rapper, the female singer, and then the male singer. So I auditioned for it, and I didn't get in initially. I didn't get the part. But later, a couple months later, I guess something didn't work out, and they called me and they got me to sing with them. So they were very well like self-managed run band. Like, so I just learned all this stuff about how like, how do you create an album? How do you promote an album? How do you apply for grants? Like, I was just seeing all the different roles that each member kind of had a role. When we were on tour, like, I'd see, like, how did they do this? How did they route a tour? How did they book this? And all the little things. And I was just like a sponge, just soaking it all in. So that was kind of like a really cool little training for me. So I finished the 1 year, and I was just like keen. Like, I just wanted to do it. I'm like, you know what? I just want to get out and make music. The main reason why I went to Humber is I wanted this music business course, because they're kind of famous for their music business course that they have. But you couldn't take that until you were in, I think it was third year. And I remember talking to the dean being like, can I go to it this year? Can I just sit in on it? Can I? And he's like, no, you have to wait. I was like, well, that sucks. All right. So I, bought the book on the business of music and started reading that instead. And after that, decided, okay, I'm not going to go back to school, but I'm going to pursue this. And my dad sat me down and said, okay, you can do this, but we're going to create a plan so that you have a bit of a roadmap. And that was honestly the best thing that had ever happened to me. Because I think if I had gone out on my own, it would have been tricky. But the fact that my dad sat me down, he's like, and he doesn't really know much about the music industry, but he knows about a project and how to, do that and setting goals and kind of like running a business. So he's like, all right, what's the goal? Okay, you want to record an album. All right, let's work backwards. Okay, when do you need to do this by? Okay, I guess you need a producer. Okay, you got to find a producer. So you should probably talk to 3 different producers and then pick the one, like just like total
What gave him that?
Things like that.
What gave him that experience or that knowledge that, okay, this is what we're going to do?
Well, he is in project management. He has that brain. Like he's an engineer too. So he's very much like, all right,
logistics, right?
Yeah, let's go by the books. We're going to do this. And he would check in on me. Like we created this spreadsheet. Like
how great is that? Through the whole conversation, I'm thinking, okay, who's your mentor? Who's like?
Yeah,
who's
what am
and it was your dad. That's awesome.
I was like, yeah. And so that kind of gave me this. Okay, I have like a bit of a plan now. It can change. We can adapt and do that. But I've got this thing that I can, and we check in on each other. And so that really set me up and gave me a roadmap. So I just started doing it. And I also was working at Canada's Wonderland in the shows there. Like that summer, before I was out on my own, I did Canada's Wonderland. And that was cool because a lot of my musician friends were in the show and a lot of them still play in my band today. So I did 2 summers at Canada's Wonderland and then started recording my own stuff and just kind of dived right in. And like, it's totally freaky doing it. Like
what
going
did you do at
out
Canada's
and
Wonderland?
I was a singer. So in the show, so the first year it was called School of Rock. My character had this big transition between like stuffy businesswoman and then she turns into this rocker chick by the end. And then the second year I was there is called Twist into the 60s. So it's based on like 60s music. So just fun shows.
Yeah.
I remember I took Hannah and Isabel.
Oh,
they were
really?
little. Yeah. Yeah, and they were just chuffed because remember you had babysat my girls,
yes,
right?
Yeah,
and so they were just so excited. That's Leah. So that was the first time I'd seen you on a big stage. Was at Wonderland in School of Rock? Yeah, that was neat.
Yeah, it was very cool. Like we were like theme park rock stars. Like we had confetti cannons and like smoke and fun. Like it was so cool. But you really, like doing 5 shows a day, we were working 6 days a week. That was my first kind of like glimpse of like, oh man, all right, you need endurance to do this and like really be careful with your voice. And then at that time I was like, you know what, I'm not going to take any job unless it's related to music. And that was kind of my thing. So yes, I did teaching. I remember I run like summer music camps and then I'd just be gigging, doing shows, trying to get out and meet people and get in front of people. And I've been doing it ever since.
Common question we get at Okamikai Martial Arts and Fitness is, what age can my child start karate?
And the answer is that we have children as young as 3 years old training with us. Austin is one of our amazing students, and he told us some of his favorite things about our program.
Do lots of stuff like karate, like weight falls, kicks, and blocks, and punches. I can do anything.
Austin can do anything, and we are excited to help bring out his potential and your child's too.
We use martial arts as a tool to help your child build confidence, focus, self-discipline, and respect for others.
Contact us at Okamikai Martial Arts and Fitness to get your child started today.
Mom, my God, it's karate day!
Do you consider yourself to be a singer of a specific genre? Because there was a time where you were really country music based.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're still along that line?
Well, it's funny because my original music, yes, is in that country pop vein. But throughout that whole time, I've always been singing in cover bands and corporate bands, which is every style of music. It's pop, it's rock, it's R&B, like it's everything. So it's hard for me to say like, oh, I'm this. I wouldn't say I'm a country singer.
Which is interesting because didn't you win a country award?
Yeah. But I think what's interesting, is a country singer, like I think country is so crossover now anyways. It's like, what is country music? Like it's so pop, rock. And I think if you're in Nashville, like a lot of those southern people, like their voice is very distinct. They've got that twang. You know, I grew up in Uxbridge. I don't really have a twang in my voice. Like I can be very versatile.
And that's your selling feature. To be a vocal.
Exactly.
And that you had that from when you were little.
Yes.
You had that from when you were little. And then what really showed it when you were a teenager was when you did The Girl in 14G.
Oh, yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
You knocked that out of the park. And that was, for me, I went, okay, this girl can do anything. And for me as a teacher, and I was a young teacher at the time, it was really exciting for me to recognize that you didn't have to be pigeonholed into a certain style of singing. And you just blew the canopy off that. That was great. Because you were doing that song in particular, if people don't know it, it's musical theater, but it has opera elements and it has jazz elements.
Yes.
And you have to instantly go back and forth between all three.
Yeah.
And so for you to be able to navigate that at a very young age was remarkable. Was really remarkable.
It's like, it's a blessing and a curse almost, like, because I used to love imitating people too. And it took me a long time to find my own voice. Like, I was in love with Celine Dion. And I don't know if you remember, like, I would imitate her, like, exactly. And so when it came to singing my own music, like, there's still times where I can hear, I'm like, oh, that's Celine Dion coming out. Like, have my own voice, right? But when I started writing my own music, then that's where I started to discover, okay, what is my voice? Because I would have like my classical voice and my jazz voice and then, you know, my musical theater voice. But what was my voice actually? And I think that took a while to figure out. And the only way that I was able to figure it out is singing a song that nobody else had sung before. Because the moment I hear somebody else sing it, then well, I want to sing it like them, or not meaning to, but you just kind of do. So that was a bit of a journey to try and discover that as well.
Through music and auditions and opportunities that come and opportunities that go, what was one of the best things that somebody ever said to you along the journey that like just was incredibly influential for you?
I remember somebody saying, and it's quite blunt, but like, if there's something else you can see yourself doing, do it. And I know that's so crazy, but in order to kind of do music, and I'm sure this applies with like any career, but like you kind of need to commit 110%. You can't be thinking about the backup plan. And I remember people saying, well, so what do you want to do? Like, okay, I want to be a singer. Well, but what's your backup plan? And it used to irritate me so much because I'd be like, no, like this is my plan. Like I want to pursue music. I want to do that. Like I don't want to think about what if or prepare for that. Why would I even spend my time on that? So I think it's true. It's like, it's because it's hard. Like you get shut down, you get rejection, stuff like it all the time. Like it's not fair.
So with that in mind, there's been lots of cruel things. Lots
of course.
Like, things that would have made you second guess everything, right? So what's one of the nastiest things somebody said?
Well, I remember auditioning for Canadian Idol once, and they said that I sounded like a billy goat. And I think they were trying to be funny or whatever, like, or shake me up or see how I'd react. But there's been so many times like that are like almost in my life, you know, like this almost happened, then it didn't. Like I remember going to a bunch of auditions for Dirty Dancing the musical with Mervish, like like up until that last call where you're down to 6 people and you're in front of all the producers and the creator and the women that directed the film, and then you don't get it. And then you get called back to the next one because, okay, they're replacing that character. And you do it all again and then you don't get it. Like little moments like that happen all the time. And it's easy to kind of get discouraged, but then you realize it's just it's the way it is.
And it is the way it is.
It is.
So what would you say to an up and coming, sounds like such a cliche question, but it is the way it is.
Yeah.
You're too short, you're too tall, you're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too blonde, you're too dark, you're too you're too something or you're not enough. How do you gird your loins or explain to a young person going into this industry, this is going to happen, and now how do you deal with it?
I think it is, not that I'm perfect at this, but again, separating yourself from your artist version, like getting that role or that part or that record deal does not determine your worth. You are still a great person, a great friend, a great daughter. That is your value. It's not how good you are at something. And so just remembering that and having that solid base around, like kind of that team around you, your friends, your family that just kind of support you no matter what. Because, you know, things will come and go. And at the end of the day, I think you just remember like why you're doing this. And yes, you're going to go through ups and downs, of course, but always just kind of, okay, why am I doing this? And it can change. Like there might be a time where you're like, okay, this isn't serving me anymore. And then it's okay. It's okay to step back. And I think that's what I'm realizing too. It is such a hustle. And it's a sacrifice. You're sacrificing being home on holidays with your family. You miss out on those moments. And those moments aren't forever. Like you gotta take advantage of those. And that's kind of what COVID has taught me too, is like, okay, like, yeah, I'm gonna prioritize family time more because that's what's important.
Have you wanted to ever move out of the scene here in Canada, Ontario, Toronto, that kind of thing, and expand and hit Nashville or hit the States? Or you did a stint in Nashville, did you not?
Yeah, so I've traveled to Nashville quite a bit, like for writing trips. So there I would go for like a week or a week and a half at a time and schedule a whole bunch of writing sessions and then come back. And there are a lot of people that, yeah, their goal is to move to Nashville and pursue the thing. And I've thought about that, but I think at the end of the day, like just because you're in Nashville doesn't mean that it's going to happen. There's so much you can do here. I don't think it really makes a difference. And especially now with like the internet, there's so many ways that you can have a song break through and have that kind of moment. It doesn't really matter where you are. Uxbridge, you know, like that's home. Like where my family is, that's home. So I can't see myself moving away from that, like for an extended period of time. Because I think you can make it happen anywhere. Like there's always opportunity. And the way I've been kind of able to navigate it and support myself is like, yes, I have my original project, but I do this corporate work. And that's where like, so that band God Made Me Funky. Yeah. So they were doing the original thing. They were nominated for Juno, and then they kind of morphed into doing just corporate work. So that was kind of my first introduction to like, oh, I can make money like singing at weddings and like good money and playing these corporate events. And so throughout my career, that stuff has really sustained and allowed me to pay for the other stuff, which not a lot of artists do, or solo singer-songwriters. Not a lot of them do that. So that's where like I'm really kind of lucky that I can sing that stuff as well, and that I am versatile and can take on a gig like that. Because
is it versatility that does that, or is it just, you know what, I got to make money and this is going to pay me while I'm working on the other stuff? Are there the singer-songwriters that you're talking about that won't do it? Are they saying, no, I'm very focused in being the number one hit artist in the country and therefore I'm not going to do this corporate, I'm not singing at a wedding, I want to headline Budweiser stage? Is it that kind of mindset, or how do you balance the two?
I think that, I don't know, it's maybe a bit like, I think that there's some artists that they don't have the talent to do the corporate work, or at least that, I'm not saying that there isn't that for them, but the more versatile you are as a singer, obviously that's going to open up more doors. If I could only kind of sing one thing, then I'm not sure I'd be able to do the corporate work as well. Because it requires a lot of range, like as a singer, like you kind of need to be able to sing all these different styles. So if you're kind of like a one-trick pony, you're not going to be able to do that as well.
And I wonder if some of those one-trick ponies think that maybe the corporate stuff feels like a sellout.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. And that's how I felt too, initially. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Like, oh, that's going to take away, like, oh. But then I realized, no, this is actually like, I get to still do music and support what I'm doing. And it's not interfering. Like if I can't do a show, I don't do it. Like if I've got a conflict, I'll take my own show over a corporate gig. But it's a way, I think, of being like a working musician and having a good career. And so I feel incredibly lucky that I've like kind of discovered that and that I'm able to do that. And I love it too. Like it's nice to have a show where I don't have to organize everything about it. I can go and sing and leave and I don't have to think about it again.
I applaud you for it, because not only does it make you versatile, it makes you not a music snob.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Like, exactly. You'd love to be a superstar and be Leah Daniels, just this 100% all the time.
Yeah.
But you've got this other really cool stuff going on.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's funding it. And you're not being well, I'm not going to sell out to that stuff.
Yeah.
So good on you that you're not being a music snob.
Does it build up your confidence though? Because now you're constantly performing, you've got more steady work. So now when you get something where they tell you sound like a billy goat, you go, well, yeah, but I'm working.
She was really young though.
I was young. I was young when that happened. But I think they were just looking.
No, I was using that as an example.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're saying there's a lot of rejection. So somebody rejects you for one thing, but you can go, yeah, but I'm still working.
Exactly. Yeah. That totally helps. Yeah, because it's all right. So that song didn't do as well as you thought on radio, but you know what? I'm probably making more money than a lot of the artists that are out there doing the thing because I'm able to do these other things. Like I'm still doing music. I don't have to have a side job, working at a restaurant. I've been able to do it by doing music things, which I think is really cool. When I'm encouraging other young artists, it's like, all right, like try and think outside the box. What other things can you do in the music realm that can help support what you're doing? Because no matter what it is, whether it always leads to something else. You meet someone that introduces you to someone and then that leads to another thing. Like it's all good as long as you kind of stay in that circle of music. And and it's not to say that having a job outside of music is bad or wrong or anything, but for me, it helped keep that focus. And because I am a performer at heart, like I just love performing. That's like my happy place is being on stage. It allows me to do that.
You went from, and maybe this is a secret to some of your listeners.
Oh, yes.
You went from Leah Spears to Leah Daniels.
Yes.
Why did you change? I mean, I know why you changed your name, but why did you change your name?
Well, when I was first starting, Britney Spears was still really big and active. And I just felt like every time I tell people my name, oh, I'm Leah Spears, they'd be like, oh, are you related to Britney? Are you just always that immediate association? And I was like, oh, it'd be nice if I could just not have that and just be able to be like, no, I'm Leah so-and-so and be me. I took a while to think about what name I wanted to do, but Daniels is a family name. It's my grandmother's maiden name. So yeah, so I started there. I was like, what are some family names that I like? And pick the one that
How'd
works.
your parents respond to that?
Well, you know them. They're supportive of everything.
Of everything.
Like literally, they are the sweetest people. Like, oh my God.
Your dad's like, where's that on the plan?
That's not subsection B.
I know, right? I don't. If they did feel something, they didn't make me aware of it. They were supportive. Yeah.
So did you legally change your name?
No.
So
I never did.
Stage name.
Yeah, just my stage name. Yeah, I'm still Leah Spears.
Still no relation to Britney, regardless.
Yeah.
Spelled differently too.
Spelled. However, we were EA 2 generations back, but then my great grandfather changed it because there was a family dispute and changed the spelling, and so we were EE. So there you go. So maybe I am related to her. I don't know. I don't know. Have to do ancestry.
Moving forward with Canadian music.
Yeah.
Where do you see things going in Canada right now?
Well, I see the industry changing a fair bit. Just like you can kind of get big anyway. Like it just seems like, oh, somebody gets a song big on TikTok or this other thing blows up. Like it's changed so much even from when I first began. It really just seems like anything goes. And there's way more emphasis on just being yourself, being authentic, which was not there when I first started. It was very much like you need to be this thing, you are a star, like you always need to be on, you always need to look on. Whereas now it's like you can show up in your pajamas online and it's cool. That was not the case, I feel like 10 years ago. It just wasn't as accepted. But I love that too, because I think that that's so important for just all of us. Like as we're scrolling through, like it can't always be a highlight reel. Like it's so great to see like that more authentic stuff coming through. So I think that that's changing in terms like we feel so much, like we feel like we know so much more about these artists that we like, because they share so much. I kind of like how it's changing because it's not so much about like having a ton of money. Like, yes, it is still like you need money like at a certain level for the marketing, right? But when you're starting, like it feels like you don't need that same foundation to get going. Like like my first album, like, it was like $20,000 to record an album, more even. And then you got to market it on top of that. And I think people don't realize that. It's like, it's so expensive to do it properly, like to have high quality stuff. And nowadays, like it's, as recording stuff gets cheaper and everybody's kind of making music like that but you can become big just you singing a cappella. in the parking garage. Like you can have something fly. So that's cool. I think that kind of opens it up for everybody to have that opportunity. So that's cool.
You see everybody out behind the bowling alley now, all trying to sing on.
But the difference though is who's got the longevity. So you may have something like that blows up, but then can you keep it going?
Exactly.
And so here you are. Were you 5, 6 years old when you were starting to sing with Conrad and here in town, right? And now fast forward a couple of decades, and you're still going. You've got the longevity, you've got the authenticity, and so I know you're not going to show up in your pajamas because you love to perform. You're going to be full-fledged makeup and outfit, probably sequins if you can make it happen.
She was performing in the bathroom when she was little. She was done. She was done.
So I think we need to sign off with that. Leah, thank you so much, but we need you to sing that "I'm Done" song one more time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just one more time.
All together now. I'm all...
We don't know it. No, it's your song. We're not singing it.
We're not backup singers. What do you think?
All right. One last time for you two. I'm all done. I'm all done. Super in a calibet. I'm all done.
And there you go. She's all done.
We're all done.
Thank you, Leah.
Okay, so one of the things about editing a podcast episode is that I will listen to, definitely I listen to the whole interview at least 3 times in its entirety. I will listen to section after section over and over and over and over again. But I have to be totally honest when I tell you that after 3 times listening to it all the way through, you wouldn't believe the earworm that is created by I'm done. And it was like, it was playing in my head in the background. Country Music Award winner in our home. And what do I remember out of her music? She's done.
And we had to clarify. As her former voice teacher, I'm a little concerned because I wasn't sure. Was a calibet? Was a halibut? Was a ecalowit? I wasn't sure what that word was. And so
off mic, she said she thinks it had to do with halibut, but
because she was a little tiny girl when she sang it, but it sounds like a calibet, and I don't even know what a calibet is. Do you? Do you know what a calibet is?
Super and a calibet.
Super and a calibet.
Yeah, that's the other thing is when she sang it, I didn't know the lyrics. I do now.
I know her mom, Anita, quite well. She's just such a lovely lady. I'm sure Anita's sitting there going, I can tell you what the words are.
Yeah, she probably knows.
But what a special episode for me. Leah, we are so proud of you for everything that you have accomplished and everything that you have put forward as an ambassador for Uxbridge. Thank you on behalf of our town. You have been such an incredible role model for young up-and-comings, and you have done so well by our musical favor in town. So thank you so much, Leah, for spending that time with us.
Done so much for our musical favor.
Oh, stop it. She
Kids
really
everywhere are going to be singing, I'm done. So much.
Everybody now. I'm done. I'm done. Super and a calibet or a halibut. We don't know what that word is. She's all done.
So not only do you now know music to poop by, but if you ever need any kind of construction or renovations done at your home, I'm sure Leah would be able to help you with that.
I don't think Leah wants to help you. I think that was a one-hit COVID wonder. She doesn't ever want to do construction ever again.
One-hit COVID wonder. And so look at our COVID wonder. We have a podcast. So we went from martial art music instructors to podcast episode people that are trying to do this on the side. So confession time. I know that normally when somebody does a podcast, they say, okay, we're going to come out once a week or once a month, or some people even do every day. Could you imagine every day? I'm done. No, sorry.
Well, it's not that every day.
Yeah, I guess
I don't
it wouldn't
think they
be
have other things to do. They just have their podcast to do.
Yeah, actually, I'm thinking, does Conan O'Brien do one every day? But
Joe Rogan? Like, really?
They're not in Uxbridge, so who cares?
Okay, so anyway, what I would recommend, because of the fact that we've got another business that we're trying, well, a couple of businesses that we're trying to work, that we actually have students and we have to look after them. So no, we do not do once a week. We do not do every day. We wanted to do once a month when we first started, and then that slowly turned into, hey, we're excited about this. Let's do another one. Let's do another one. And some are easier to edit than others. And so, yeah, we're random. It's a random Uxbridge Beat podcast episode. So what I would recommend is there are most platforms anyway, you can basically subscribe to the podcast. So yes, we will still announce on social media when we launch an episode, but if you put in the notifications and subscribe to our episode, then you will be up to date and you will be notified when we do a new episode each time.
And sometimes they'll be fast and sometimes they won't be. So who's coming up?
We got Shelley Macbeth.
From Blue Heron Books, yep. And who else?
Adam Ruppel.
And Adam is?
Adam Ruppel is a guy I grew up with him and I went to nursery school together. And now he's a big major event planner, promoter. The big thing he's got going on is Drive Festival.
So if you're a car aficionado, stay tuned for that episode because you're going to be really excited about what's coming up. But along the theme of your nursery school, who else is coming up?
Amy Peck is going to come up.
Amy Peck. And you and Miss Peck went to nursery school together. So Miss Peck is our local high school music teacher. She is so inspirational to me as a musician, as a teacher, as an amazing human being. And so if you have any musical inclination at all, or are a parent and are even considering maybe putting your child into music at USS, you need to listen to this episode because she is just amazing. She really is.
It came up as a conversation in our house too. So being somebody who's gone to college now and has been reacquainted with the idea of learning from teachers, there are good teachers. There are also bad ones. And quite frankly, when you find a good teacher, it doesn't matter what they're teaching. It's just good to have that experience of learning from them. And she is definitely a good teacher. And so even if, maybe you're thinking about what you're doing for high school and you're trying to come down with a path, I would strongly recommend to get in her class. And I think I don't know if she still does it, but at one point she was teaching a careers class.
Yeah, civics and careers, right?
Yeah, and even that, like if you can get the experience with any good teacher, I strongly recommend it. And she is definitely a good teacher. Her
passion and her forte is music, but honestly, that woman could teach underwater fire prevention and she would make it awesome. Let's think about that for a second. Underwater fire prevention. She could do it. If there's anybody who could do it, Amy could do it.
Yeah, that'll probably come up in the interview now. We haven't done the interview, so we're just going to say, well, how would you teach if you had the chance?
Thank you for joining us on Uxbridge Beat. Thank you for putting up with us, I think. And
we're done.
We're done. We're done. Subscribe to the podcast. You will get the episodes coming up, and we're just going to keep them coming. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks very much.
When I was young in Oklahoma, we'd spend the summers living in a swimming pool, and Dad would lift me up on his shoulders and while away the afternoon, he'd tell me stories about his childhood in salt water. What happened to that
all done.